Hi everyone, welcome back to another video for PSO Blueburst. So this is going to be the next in the series of the Hunting the Ubers series, where I look at some of the rarest drops in PSO and show you some ways to potentially hunt them. I try and show you ways that are some of the more efficient ways to hunt. I'll also show you a little bit about the weapon itself as well, so you understand why you might want to hunt it as well. So we've already done one part of this series, which was the CLJ sword, so feel free to go and check that video if you haven't seen it already. But today we're going to focus on another uber rare, which is the Lavis cannon. So Lavis cannon is a 11-star saber. It is pretty strong, although in Blueburst it is outclassed by Excalibur and Galatine. It has a special attack that sacrifices some of your HP to launch a piercing wave. Honestly, in Blueburst it is very outclassed. It's more of a uber that you would typically hunt in the console versions usually. However, Lavis does have the cool ability to be able to be upgraded into two other weapons as well, by using an item called Syncesta. Those weapons being the Lavis blade, which are 12-side daggers, and the double cannon, which is a 12-side double saber. And there are some niche uses for those. So what I'll do today is I'll show you how to hunt Lavis. There's a couple of IDs you could realistically use for this, and I'll show you a couple of quests that you might want to consider if you are hunting it. So Lavis is an interesting weapon because, unlike CLJ sword, which was only available on one section ID, Lavis actually drops on every single section ID. So every ID will have a chance of getting Lavis, however there are certain IDs that are a much better option for it. So first of all, I'll show you the Redria method. So Redria gets Lavis cannon from purely slime, which is the rare slime, also known as red slime, at a 1 in 21 rate in ultimate. So it's doable. The issue obviously is that you are hunting rare enemies for this, and rare enemies are very, very fickle. You could potentially get a few rare enemies very quickly, or you might go for several runs and not get any. So it is very, very RNG based whether this is an efficient run or not. But if you want to go down the rare enemy route and hunt it from a rare enemy, then Redria is the way to do it. So for hunting red slimes, you have a couple of options. First of all, this video will relate to Blueburst specifically. I want to say that because I have had some comments that have recommended things that only worked on the console version, such as the pipe trick. I want to be very clear that this is ideally for Blueburst, so I won't be covering anything that involves the telepipe trick. Similarly, I will be doing this for the Affinia server, so there may be some quests that I cover that maybe are not on other servers. Affinia is probably one of the biggest servers, so that's the one I'm focusing on. So there are a few methods to find this through red slime. First one is actually during the Christmas event on Affinia. So during the Affinia Christmas event, there is a quest called Christmas Fiasco that has a ton of slimes in it. The downside, of course, is that it is a Christmas event, so you can only run it during Christmas. So just bear that one in mind, really. If you are playing around Christmas and you are wanting to hunt Lavis, that is a good time to do it. Outside of that, though, there are some more permanent options. First one is, there is a quest called, I believe it's Silent After Image 2. This one has around 16 slimes in it. I don't tend to run this personally, but it is definitely an option you can run. The one that I tend to focus on is in the maximum attack category in episode 1. And honestly, you can run most of these, but I think there are slightly more slimes in 1A. So this run, I would thoroughly recommend doing this with a Force. Personally, just because Forces can clear one-person mode episode 1 very quickly. I would say if you're doing this multiplayer, Force drops off a lot. But for one-player mode, Force is definitely one of the ways to go for this. Now, obviously the most important thing with hunting slimes is you want to make sure you're splitting the slimes. That's another reason why Force is so good, because it's really easy to split slimes with a Force or with any character that can cast Rabata. Rabata will split them really reliably. You can also use things like the third hit of a combo, or damage traps can split slimes if you place them right, but they can also instant kill slimes depending on where you place them, so they are quite risky. But yeah, what I would personally do is I would probably focus on a character that uses Tex. So what you want to do with this is you will have to go through a few spawns first just to get to the slimes. I really should menu cast with my force, but I'm too lazy to do it. So straight away we get 2 slimes. I just try and kill the assassins as fast as I can. And then we can split these. Remember, you can split slimes a couple of times. Because for anyone who might not know, if you split slimes, you can split a non-rare slime into a rare one. And that is the advantage of doing this way. So if you don't immediately get a red slime, don't worry. Because by splitting them, you do have a chance of getting a red slime to show up. And then just use Gift Foy once they've all spawned, because that will more or less instant kill them as soon as they pop up. So there are also a lot of lilies in this quest as well, so it is actually good for hunting mill lilies as well. Again, a very, very good quest for force because you can just stand in the middle and do Razonde and kill the lilies. The slimes are tanky enough to take 1 Razonde, so don't worry if you hit them once. One of the only issues with running these cave quests is nano dragons. So nano dragons can kill slimes instantly, and obviously that will prevent the slimes from splitting for you, which is obviously a problem. So I would say that for spawns that have nano dragons, try and focus on the dragons first and kill them as quick as you can. But again, we're just basically splitting them and using Gift Foy to get rid of them quickly. But you can see it's a very, very fast run. Okay, so we've got some dragons. Obviously, Phonium would be the ideal class for this because you would get the boost to the Ratex, so it'd be even faster. Yeah, typically I find this a very, very efficient quest overall. So you basically just want to stack Gift Foy once the slimes have spawned. The only real downside of doing this with Redria is there isn't really much else in Redria Caves that's any good. Redria Caves is pretty poor overall. You can get Red Sword from the Milkwigs, but it's not a good drop rate. But generally there's not that many good drops here, so you are basically just doing it for a Lavis Cannon. Obviously I realise I'm using a Psycho one for this, and you do not need a Psycho one to be able to do this. Any Force build will work for this, honestly. I would recommend bringing a Cure Paralysis for this, ideally, just so the lilies don't paralyze you, but yeah, typically it's not too bad at all. So one thing I did learn with that spawn is if you target the assassin in the middle with Rough Foy, you'll actually hit the lilies at the edge as well. So we'll clear this room out. There are a few more rooms after this though. So another slime. Again, we'll try and kill the assassins. If you do freeze one of the slimes, just try and split it as many times as you can quickly before it gets killed. Thankfully, there's not that many spawns that have dragons and slimes at the same time, but there is a couple, so just be aware of them. So this is one of them here. Yeah, so I want to try and kill this dragon now. Because the beam that the dragons do, it does seem to instant kill the slimes, from what I've seen. I think they're fully split? Yeah. Now, obviously, if you are running this on Redria, the weeks you want to be targeting is either Rare Drop Week or Rare Enemy Week. Obviously, in Rare Enemy Week, you are going to get more, potentially more red slimes, because the better rate for them. But you are still dealing with a 1 in 21 drop rate, so it is still a tough hunt. Alternatively, you can run it in Red Drop Week, which would improve the rate of Lavis if you can get a red slime to show up. But obviously the red slime is going to be a bit harder to appear. So I will finish this actually because there is only 2 more rooms to do. So it's a relatively quick run. The only downside with this really is that the slimes are quite stacked towards the end, in my opinion. See, we are getting a couple now. But yeah, outside of the Christmas event for slimes, this is probably one of the best options. Again, Silent After Image 2 is apparently good as well. I just haven't really ran that enough to know how good that is. Oh, speaking of which, so we've got a mill lily, obviously. Because this happens every single time you do this. You will always get the wrong rare enemy. Right, will you at least drop me a demolition comet? Ideally with hit. Is that something you can do for me? I mean, it's a demo comet. It has terrible percents. Thanks, game. I've lost count how many times that has happened. And if I hunt a mill lily in caves, I'll get red slime show up. It's just like a law of PSO, I think, that you'll always get the wrong rare enemy show up. So this is the big spawn. This is the spawn you want to be going for. So there is a 4 slime spawn here. And only one of them doesn't want to pop up. Basically split these and you'll get, I can't remember if it's 12 or 16 slimes you get from this. I mean, again, of course we don't get a red slime. I suppose one good thing about doing this on Redria is, I know I said there's not that many good drops, but the blue slimes do drop guard wave, which isn't a bad armor. The drop rate isn't great for it, but you're killing so many of them that you probably will get some. Yeah, lots of lilies. Now, once you've done this room, what you actually want to do is backtrack, because the room after that goes to mines. So then what you want to do is actually go into this room here. And you can get a couple more slimes from this. I don't know why it has the annoying pause between the spawns. It's really annoying. Yeah, so this room is mainly Vulmas, but there are a couple of slimes. So you get one that. Again, this is the issue with hunting rare monsters, really, is it is very fickle. You will get some days where you'll run this over and over again and get no red slimes whatsoever. And then you'll get other days where you'll get a few. Yeah, so that is the last slime for that room. Once you've done that, that is the end of that run. You can see that goes to mines. So your next option for red slimes is everyone's favourite quest, Towards the Future. I know people hate TTF. But for red slime hunting, it is actually quite efficient. So it's in the VR section of episode 1, like you don't know. It's Towards the Future. Now, basically, this is, again, using the slime method. There are a lot less slimes doing this, but it is faster to get to them, so it's up to you which one you want to go with. Now on Redria, it might be worth killing the Bartles because they do drop Disco Braveman. If you can get a high hit one of those, it's worth a lot, so probably worth killing the Bartles at least. The rest of them you can probably ignore. So, pretty sure these don't drop anything good. Now, you can do the minimum kills method if you want to by waiting for the Bartle to spawn at the back, but honestly, I think it's faster sometimes to just kill these anywhere. The only downside is that the hill delts don't really take damage from much apart from grants, so when there's a few of them, you either target one at a time with grants and probably get shocked in the process, or just spam Resonde. So once you've killed those, then you fight the Seal Dragon. So there is a chance you'll get a Valkyrie drop from this. Again, not a great weapon, but at least it's an interesting one. And generally for the Seal Dragon, you just want to more or less spam Gizonde. I know it looks like it's doing no damage, but there's a weird thing with PSO where it looks like it's doing 100 damage, but it's actually hitting a lot of different parts. You can see the dragon's health's getting chunked down. So we're already at the damage threshold there. So although it looks like it's only doing 100 damage, it is hitting multiple parts of the dragon at the same time. Now I don't know if I can kill it before it digs, we'll see. Ah, there we go, nice. Yeah, so you take out the dragon. Should note that Resonde doesn't work for that. Resonde just has a weird interaction with multiple target enemies. So you go onto caves. This is obviously where we want to be for the slimes. Now, first of all, this first room will have one slime in it. It does take a while to spawn though, so it's quite often just better to trigger the extra Vulma spawn. By the time you get back, the slime will be there. So we've got our slime. Just kill the Vulma. And again, you just want to make sure that you're splitting all these slimes. That's the most important thing because, you know, you're missing out on a lot of chances if you don't. Okay, so there's none there. We can just skip those altogether. So next room, you can actually get past the Vulmas and just kill this Lily. And in this room, you get 4 slimes. So you can see it is very quick to get to them. And again, just want to split them all. I think that's about it. And that's it. So that is the way of doing it through Towards the Future. So it is a very, very fast way of getting to slimes. It is very repetitive and a bit mind-numbing to do it, but that is definitely a fast way of getting slimes. So if you don't want to do maximum attack, that is another way of doing it. However, obviously, as I mentioned, Lavis doesn't just drop on Redria, it drops on every single section ID. So let's look at some other IDs and see some other methods of hunting Lavis as well. So I've now changed over to a Purplenum character. So Purplenum also has a pretty good farm for Lavis. And this is a hunt that doesn't involve rare enemies. So if you want to hunt it through a rare enemy, do Redria, that is your only option. But if you want to hunt it from a normal enemy that you can guarantee will show up, obviously at a much worse rate, then Purplenum is a pretty good option. So Purplenum gets Lavis Cannon from a episode 1 Tolor, which is like the ultimate equivalent of a Giga Boomer. So it's in forest, so it's a very, very easy area to hunt. And there are a few quests that have a lot of Tolors, but one in particular that I'll go into. Again, during events there might be better options for you. The drop rate is pretty bad, so the drop rate is 1 in 28,807, I believe, somewhere around there. However, if you run this during drop all week or rare drop week, that will obviously have a big impact on the current drop rate. Also, keep an eye on what quests get rotated into the Raggle Boost Road. So if you don't know, on Affinia, if you type /RBR into the chat, you can also check this at the statistics menu in lobbies. It will show you what the current quests are. So at the moment, for example, we have Scarlet Realm 4, Lost Shock Rifle, and Sweep Up 13. Now, one of the quests I'm going to show you here is a quest called Lost Heat Sword, which is a really, really easy quest. And crucially, it can appear in the Raggle Boost Road. So if you get a week that the quest is in Raggle Boost Road, that is a bit more rare drop rate for you as well. So it is really, really good to keep an eye on that and just keep track of what quests are featured in the Raggle Boost Road, because it might affect what quests you use to hunt stuff, not just for Lavis, for anything. So for the Tolor drop for Lavis Cannon, I would typically use Lost Heat Sword, like I've said. So Lost Heat Sword is the episode 1 quest, and it's in the retrieval section. And this was a quest that was on the old SEGA servers and everything as well, so pretty much every private server should have this quest. So what you want to do for this is essentially just run Forest 1 and then reset. It's a very, very easy quest to do. It's a very quick run, and it's quite a lot of Tolors. I can't remember the exact number of Tolors in this quest, but there is a lot, as you will see. As for recommended classes for this, I honestly don't think it matters too much. It's Forest. Forest is really not that difficult. Particularly if you do it in one-person mode, it is a very, very simple area to do. So as you'll see, so these are the Tolors, this is what you're looking for. So yeah, it's 1 in 28,807 normally. And you can see, we are getting a lot of them. So although the drop rate is bad, you are killing a lot of Tolors very, very quickly. You're not having to worry about getting a rare monster to spawn as well. But obviously the downside is the drop rate is much worse. Yeah, you are talking 1 in 21 from a red slime. Red slime obviously has a 1 in 500 chance of appearing, so it's 1 in 500 times by 1 in 21. Where this is 1 in 28,000, so it's entirely up to you though. Some people prefer hunting from rare monsters, some people prefer doing it from a monster that you can guarantee is going to show up. For me, I tend to mix and match between the two because, honestly, I find slime hunting really, really boring. I really don't enjoy doing it. So although I have a Redria that can blast through the caves really quickly, occasionally I'll switch over to my purple and do a few runs of this. So once you get to here, there is a hidden Tolor spawn here, and there's a few like this in this forest one. So once you get to here, you get a big spawn here. So make sure you trigger all these extra spawns, because obviously these are all extra chances of getting Lavis. I mean, you can probably tell already from running this that the majority of the enemies in Forest 1 in this quest are Tolors. There are other enemies as well, but it is predominantly Tolors. This just makes it a fantastic farming quest, honestly. There is some other options as well, like I believe one of the mop-up quests is pretty decent, but I will always typically default to Lost Heat Sword. I just think it's a really, really efficient quest. So again, in this room, there is another hidden spawn over there. We just can't get to it yet. To get that one, you just want to run in here, hit this switch, and then go back. And then just break these boxes, and as soon as you run in there, Tolls will spawn. And that gives us another 5. I can't stress how efficient this quest is for hunting Lavis. Not just Lavis as well, so you know, if you are a Whitill character, this is obviously a good handgun miller farm. If you really want a 1975 Agito, then I guess you could use that, but I don't know why I'd want that. So you've got another spawn here. Typically, if you see some boxes in the room, just go near them. There's probably Tolors hidden there. Oh, we got an LK-40 in combat. Fantastic. So this room is kind of the only downer in this quest, really. This room, there isn't really any Tolors in. It's a little bit of a time waste, but honestly, it doesn't take that long to do. I think this is about the only room in Forest 1 that doesn't have Tolors. Unfortunately, there's no more hidden ones here. Okay, and now back to more Tolors. So this room, again, these boxes you want to check, then go near them. And we get yet more Tolors. I do know of a few people personally that have found Lavis by doing this, so it is definitely a valid hunt. Again, the choice of whether you want to go for red slime or Tolors is entirely up to you. So the Forest 2 Wat was there, but you do want to check this room first, because there is a couple more Tolors in here as well. And as you probably guessed, it's where this box is. So again, break the box, and you get a few more. And then at this point, then you would just reset back to the lobby and do the same again. And that is the run for Lost Heat Sword. It's a very, very quick run, only takes a couple of minutes. You get a lot of Tolors from doing it. I think it's a fantastic way of hunting it personally. But again, it's going to depend on whether you want to hunt it from an easy drop rate at a rare monster. I mean, I say easy drop rate, it's still 1 in 21 from a rare monster, which is not easy, but it's easier than 1 in 28,000. Or do you want to hunt it from an enemy that you can always have appear, but at a worse drop rate? So that is something that you have to decide. Some people prefer hunting from rare enemies, some people prefer going from an enemy they can always count on appearing. So that's entirely up to you. Now there is one more method I do want to show, so let's get onto that one. So we now move over to episode 2. Now this next method is actually only for Yellowboze or Whitill characters. Now unfortunately I don't have a Yellowboze or a Whitill currently in ultimate mode. So I will show you this method, but it won't be on an ID that actually finds Lavis, but it'll be the same method, just run this on Yellowboze or Whitill instead. So the last method I would recommend for Lavis is, again, Yellowboze or Whitill characters, episode 2, Extermination, and it's the same quest we use for Sealed J Sword, which is Phantasmal World 4. Now again, you are going to have to deal with an Ilgil at the start. So, For Whitill and Yellowboze, Lavis is a drop from Gibbles. So exactly the same as we did last time for the Sealed JSOD video. This floor basically has 3 Gibbles on it. And the drop rate for Lavis is 1 in 12,603, so same rate as Sealed JSOD. So, you know, it's not great, but you know, it's certainly a lot better than the 1 in 28k. And it's a nice alternative to go for if you know, have a Whitill or a Yellowboze. I think this is still a viable hunt. So you basically just run that first floor, get 3 Gibbles, and then reset. So it's an even faster reset than the Sealed JSOD because you're only doing 1 floor instead of 2. Is it an interesting hunt? No. It's incredibly boring and very frustrating doing it over and over again. But it is definitely an option. I don't know if it's the one I would recommend necessarily. I think there are better Gibbles options. You know, for example, one of the IDs, I think it's Oran, gets it Psycho Wand from Gibbles that way. So I think that's more worthwhile for things like Psycho Wand. But I guess if you've only got a Yellowboze or a Whitill in Ultimate, that is an option you can use for Lavis. It's probably not the one I'd recommend overall. I would personally go for either Redria Red Slimes or go for the Purplenum Tolor drop. But that is another option you can use if you do want to do that. The other options for Lavis, if you are wondering, I probably just wouldn't bother with it at all. So if I look at the other Lavis drops, I'll show you why the other ones are not really worth doing. So as I mentioned, Lavis Cannon does drop on every single section ID, but some of the drops are really just not worth going for. So if we start with Redria, Redria gets it from an Ultimate Ruins Grand Sorcerer at 1 in 28,000. Sorcerers in Ruins, there are a couple of quests that have a lot of them, but I mean, I guess you could maybe run something that has a high sorcerer count in Ruins, but it's not a method I would want to use personally. Greenhill gets it from an Ultimate Seabed Morphos at 1 in 25,000. That's a horrible drop. Definitely don't hunt it from that. Skylight actually has not a bad drop. So Skylight gets it from an Ultimate Ruins Del D at 1 in 28,000. So it's same rate as the Tolors. And Del Ds are kind of like the Ruins equivalent of Tolors. The only reason I haven't included the Skylight one in this video is because obviously Ultimate Ruins is a much more difficult area than Ultimate Forest. And it's the same drop rate. The Purplenum hunt is just like an easier version, essentially. But I will say that if you don't have a Purplenum character and you do have a Skylight character, that hunt is totally viable. If you are running that, I would run something like Endless Nightmare 4, which is an Episode 1 Extermination quest, and just run the... I typically just run the first part of the quest, honestly. It's like the first block, which I think is Ruins 1. That is actually a really efficient hunt on Skylight as well, because Skylight... Obviously, claws drop weapons, and Skylight gets sword drops quite often, so it's actually quite a good quest for farming swords with hit as well to make dark floors. But there are a lot of Del Ds towards the end in like the last room of Ruins 1, so I would typically just run Ruins 1 and then reset. There are some Del Ds in Ruins 2 as well, but I would personally just reset Ruins 1 and then run that over and over again. It is a decent hunt overall, but the reason I don't include it in this is because to all intents and purposes, it is just a harder version of the Purplenum hunt. But again, it is totally viable that if you do have a Skylight character, that is one I would recommend if you don't have a Purplenum. If we then move to Bluefull, Bluefull is from a Sinnoh Red in Mines at 1 in 18,000. That's not great. There are some quests that have a lot of Sinnoh Reds. You might get lucky, but I wouldn't ace a hunt around it. We've covered the Purplenum drop. Hinkle gets it from Ultimate Cave Slimes, but the blue ones, so it gets it from the normal slimes. Unfortunately, where this one falls down is the drop rate is 1 in 37,000, which is absolutely terrible. So I definitely wouldn't bother with that. We've covered Redria. Oran also gets it from a Sinnoh Red at the same drop rate as Bluefall, so again, I probably wouldn't bother with that. Yellowboze, we've covered it gets the Gibbles drop, which is one that's potentially doable. Again, it's not one I'd necessarily recommend, but I would personally focus on Purplenum or Redria. But Yellowboze, however, is the only ID that has a second Lavis drop. However, the second Lavis drop is just not worth going for at all. So the second drop is Spaceship Del Sabers at 1 in 40,330, which is just insane drop rate. I would never ever hunt Lavis from that drop, ever. It's just not worth it at all. And then Whitill, like we've covered, also gets it from a Gibbles. So I do feel that the best drops overall are the Purplenum Tolors and the Redria Red Slimes. And I would only recommend the Gibbles hunt if you don't have a Purplenum or a Redria in Ultimate. If you don't, then the Gibbles drop is doable, but I think there are better Gibbles drops for that drop rate, personally. So I would definitely focus on either Purple or Redria. Now, obviously, one thing I do just need to touch on quickly with Lavis Cannon is, if you're getting a Lavis Cannon, you're probably also going to want to hunt the Syncesta as well. I have great news, Syncesta is also an uber rare drop. So Syncesta, we'll cover it very quickly. It is an uber rare drop as well, it only drops on a couple of IDs. So your options for Syncesta are either Skyly Mines Baronzas at 1 in 11,800, or Purplenum Sinnoh Reds at 1 in 18,332. Or Oran gets 3 drops. So Oran gets it from Hildator, which is the rare Hildelt, in either episode 1 or episode 2, at 1 in 21. So it's essentially as rare as Lavis Cannon. Or alternatively from Ultimate Gerta Blulu, which is like the mini boss enemy in Desert. And that is at 1 in 1,138. So that drop rate might sound good, but it is from a mini boss in Desert. There are some quests that have a few Gertas, so maybe during rare drop weeks, maybe the Gerta Blulu hunt is worth doing. Other than that, you're probably just looking at Hildatar drops, honestly. I should stress you can also get it through things like the egg gambles during the Easter event. You can get it from Christmas presents in Ultimate mode as well. But it is quite a rare instance from those, so you're probably going to focus on the actual drops instead. And you will need 2 Syncestas, because you'll need 1 to turn Lavis Cannon into Lavis Blades, and then another 1 to turn Lavis Blades into Double Cannon. Unless, of course, you just want to stick with Lavis Blades. So that is pretty much all there is to say about Lavis Cannon and Syncesta, I guess. Ultimately, it's not a weapon that you're going to hunt and then use. Lavis Blade and Double Cannon do have some niche use in that particularly Lavis Blade is a very, very quick way of sacrificing HP because it has the same HP sacrifice special but on daggers, so you sacrifice very, very quickly. That is useful obviously for getting your health down for if you're running a Dark Flow build, because Dark Flow requires your health to be really low to do the special. So that's one potential use of Lavis Blades. Yes, you could do it with Lavis Cannon, but it's a 3-hit saber combo. It's going to take a long time to get your health down. And typically, just as a weapon, Lavis is just hopelessly overpowered by some of the Blue Burst editions. Galatine is just a much, much stronger weapon, has much higher attack power, and has a Spirit special, so will do massively more damage than Lavis Cannon. And Excalibur has more attack power than Lavis Cannon, although not as much as Galatine. But Excalibur hits 3 targets and has Berserk, so again, Lavis Cannon can't even hold a candle to it. Essentially, Lavis is a weapon that you want to get if you just want it because it looks cool. Or, you know, let's be honest, you know, if you're not playing Blue Burst, if you're playing the console versions, you won't have access to Galatine or Excalibur. So in that case, Lavis Cannon probably is your strongest saber. But yeah, if you're playing Blue Burst, it is outclassed. There is some niche use for the upgrades, but I wanted to cover it anyway because it is still a really popular weapon that a lot of people really like. So I hope that's been relatively useful. I will continue to do these kind of videos for some other weapons that are really rare as well. I know we've already done CLJ Sword and now we've done Lavis Cannon. So next, we might do either Heaven Punisher or Psycho 1 next time. If you've got any questions about any of the hunts or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will try and answer what I can. But for the meantime, hope you have a great week and I'll see you guys in the next video.